Gamebreaker TV.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to GuildCast episode 52 for December 5th, 2012. You're watching Gamebreaker TV. I'm Gary Gannon, and coming up on today's show, it's a word nobody wants to hear: layoffs. Don't panic, don't panic, don't panic. We also got some info on an interview with Colin Johansson and ArenaNet's big plans for updates in the next few months. They're crazy, crazy, crazy. All that and more. But first, of course, from Zam.com, Editor-in-Chief, Mr. Scott Hawks. How are you, sir?
I'm very well. How are you?
Oh, fantastic, chap.
Well,
I'll get a little audio here. All right. And from Masterly.com, of course, Elixabeth Claire. How are you, Liz?
I'm doing well. How's your day been?
Awesome, awesome, awesome.
Good.
Awesome, awesome. I don't know if awesome with the triple power. And Richie P, Gamebreaker writer. What's happening, brother?
Richie P.
What's up, Gary? Chat room.
Richie P. All right, so let's start the show off on a downer.
My favorite way to start things. I love talking about things that depress me.
At least it's not an obituary, so you know it could be worse. So those are usually hard to come out of. But so realignment at NCSoft Seattle offices. PC Gamer started hearing rumors about they reached out to the PR director Lincoln Davis for comment, and they received a quote from NCSoft saying, "NCSoft is realigning internal publishing resources to better suit the needs of our game development studios. As a result of the realignment, several employees and contract positions were affected. This was a very tough decision to make, and wish the best for all NCSoft employees in their next ventures." So that being said, people losing their jobs, but you know what? We see this all the time, so don't freak out. I know the internet's probably gonna start freaking out. They're like, "Oh my God, the game is destroyed. It's over with." Hang on. I got somebody talking to me over here. Hang on. Sorry. There we go. But every single MMO company almost on the face of the planet goes through this. Right? I mean, it's like it's your needs are completely different pre-launch and build up to post-launch. They're just completely different. And things change, things get shifted around, and we see this all the time.
Yeah, we do. And also, we have no idea at the moment whether it's anything to do really with ArenaNet.
Actually, we know that it's nothing to do with ArenaNet.
Oh, really?
There we go.
Martin Kirstein posted on the forums that he says, "While we are indeed a wholly owned subsidiary of the Korea-based NCSoft Corporation, we are our own entity. ArenaNet has not been affected by the NC West realignment, and indeed we are hiring."
Yep.
All right.
But so for the original, because the original statement said like the publishing to better facilitate the production. So yeah. All
right. Well,
it seemed not to leap to that.
Either the show's over then, or you guys can come up with some stuff to talk about, because I don't really have anything else. I was going to talk about this for about 20 minutes, but it's kind of pointless now.
Well, what it might show is the difference between NCSoft's publishing of other games so far, and how well Guild Wars 2 is doing in relation to those other games so far. In the big job of getting Guild Wars 2 out there has been done, and other games that NCSoft have produced, shall we say, don't need very much work doing to them.
Right. You can also kind of, we're going to talk about this later in terms of like the future content that the schedule that ArenaNet is looking at for Guild Wars 2, and you're right, a lot of these MMOs after they launch, they have a lot of contract employees. A lot of people actually do lose their jobs after a big MMO like this launches. But I think with the content that they're looking to produce, the amount of content, and the schedule that they're looking to do it, I think it's no wonder that they're still hiring, and we haven't heard any of those kind of contract employees being laid off from ArenaNet. So that's all a good sign. It's a sad thing that the NCSoft side of things is taking a realignment hit, but so far no reason to panic on the Guild Wars 2 front.
I mean, it's been a terrible past year to 18 months in the games industry for a lot of people. Like, people affected with CCP in Atlanta. You've got what happened with, Kurt Schilling and the Brigade, and everything else on top of that. BioWare. It's just been awful. So there's nothing like fun or lighthearted about it at all, anyway. But and you're right. This happens a lot with MMOs. They release what's needed from release changes, but it seems that, and we're going to talk about this more, that the actual plan that ArenaNet have is a lot of the design work that was needed beforehand is going to be needed after, due to the really quite large live team and the amount of work they're going to have to put in with the amount of content they're updating. So it might be slightly different with ArenaNet in their sort of employment cycle than it is to a lot of MMO studios.
I think the NCSoft realignment might actually have more effect on maybe Blade and Soul's presence in the West than any of their other games. I don't really know how they're planning on running that in the West, but since they're not just publishing that, that seems more of the kind of game that would be affected than, say, City of Heroes, which is no longer a thing, and Guild Wars 2. So yeah.
Yeah, I guess preemptively, like, we should, like, if we do see any sort of like layoffs even at ArenaNet itself in the future, it doesn't always necessarily mean it's like, the sky is falling and the game is completely doomed. There's definitely usually for most games there's a realignment in some capacity, whether it's not, maybe it's not in design or something like that, but sometimes in customer service or in QA, things like that. Like all the needs kind of change, so we see that all the time. Right. All right. Chalk that up onto a 2-minuter. All right, let's go on. GamingBolt.com had an interview with Colin Johansson. Definitely worth a read. Go check that out. We pulled out a few of the highlights as we normally do. First up, Colin had this to say, which I know you guys are all waiting to find out some more info on PvP. He said, PvP is a big one for me. We know that there are some features that we need to have to get the PvP up to where we want it to be. Those were not included in release, and those are all the things that we have either already added since the game came out, or we have a team of people building right now. So it's one of the big ones for me, really growing that competitive PvP feature base. And we've been talking about this, and we even brought this up last week, saying that was one of the wasn't last week we were saying that this is one of the big areas they really need to kind of strap it on. We need leaderboards, we need spectator mode, we need guesting, we need all these features like tied in, because we were all kind of sold that the PvP was going to be a big aspect of this. You saw those guilds kind of get together, calling themselves pro Guild Wars 2 esports teams. Ha ha ha, hardy. Sorry, I had to laugh at that, but without the tools, you can't really expect them to kind of put on proper tournaments and proper casting and all these other things. So it's kind of gotten put on the back burner.
Mm-hmm.
Good to hear they're not forgetting about the scene, at least.
The core games there, the core elements there, people have enjoyed the structured PvP. People got stuck into it. They got stuck into the meta game, and people are going crazy and looking at places like Guildhead. And so on for a while, but they went in with such anticipation of where it was going to go, and they're going to have this real competitive, cutting-edge PvP scene that's lacking in most MMOs. That could be something that could really go on to be a real esports sort of wall breaker for the industry and for the people who wanted to get stuck into it. But the core game's there, but all of the structure that you need to make that blossom outwards isn't. And the way that it's been talked up to, we kind of expected it to be happening by now, and it hasn't, because of the way it was led up to be such a big thing, I think, before release. And it's led to a lot of frustration and quite a lot of message board unhappiness here and there, shall we say. But it's the game's there waiting to have these things added to it, and once the bolt's done, it could really take off. But it needs to happen soon. Hopefully, it looks like that's what's going on.
I wonder if, in hindsight, you guys, Liz, do you think that maybe ArenaNet, if they hadn't sort of like marketed and pitched us on all these amazing ideas and like given us all these like grand ideas of all the components that were going to be in, I mean, I don't think if they hadn't pumped all that up, I don't think anybody would really be disappointed right now where the state of the game is, including on the PvP side to that extent. It's because we had all these expectations built up that it's like,
absolutely. The fact that they came out and they're like, hey, we really want to be this big esports thing, we're really building for that, and didn't have so many of the things that are critical for it, is kind of why people, allowed their expectations to be raised. They took the company kind of at face value on their word, and then didn't find those things there. And that's kind of why I almost wish that Colin had kind of specified which of the some features it was they were working on, because I feel like ArenaNet and fans might disagree about what are the core essential features. So if they're working on things that are absolutely core, but not like everything that you need, players still might be a little bit upset that they're like, oh yeah, we're totally working on the esports stuff. We are the things that are esports we are working on right now, and not being much more specific than that.
Because the issue is if fans who've been built up for that before launch find that hasn't happened, and now they're going to start getting excited again, and if it doesn't happen again, that's problematic. And again, it's the messaging. It's about being, again, we talked about the long-term view and them seeing the big picture and us only seeing a little part of it. And although it's whether that big picture is going to come in time to satisfy quite a lot of PvP players who are hoping to see this sooner rather than later. Because as Elizabeth said, if what these core features are something that structured PvP freaks are just going, we want this now, and they think, oh, February, March, it's going to be there, and then it's something that's great, but not what's going to make that esports scene and that competitive scene really flourish, it could be problematic.
Yeah, and I think expectations, like you alluded to, is a big deal, because I mean, think about Star Wars: The Old Republic. Nobody was really had their eye on PvP in that game, and when it first launched, that whole before level 50 PvP experience, people were going crazy about it. They're like, "Oh, this is awesome!" and stuff like that. Hutball was unique, So there's a lot of good feelings about that, and because expectations were low at that. People came into this game with very high expectations, and not all the features are in place. If you strip out all of the promises of like spectator mode, esports, and those kind of things, it's a solid PvP system that's in place there, and it's got interesting maps, and they've already added a new map. So I do think there's some expectation management that needs to take place here. And Jonathan Sharp actually did an interview with Guru this week where he kind of was. Yeah, he answered a lot of questions, and they actually had some of the pro players asking him questions, and basically he went over a list of all the things that they're working on, and I think the main focus right now is the custom arenas. They want to have the custom arenas in place so that these teams can start getting together, start scrimmaging each other, and really working to define things, and then spectator mode and other things are down the pike. And he rattled off a big list of things he feels he needs to get into place to actually start promoting the esport and getting the ball rolling, qualifying, monthly tournaments, all kinds of things like that. And they try to peg him for a timeline, and the closest what he said is he said that they expect most of the features to be in place next year. So that's a big window, but
so you got a window of 365. 2013 is your window. What do you guys think? I mean,
it's that big.
Very soon in this millennium.
Sometime before the game closes.
What do you guys think, though? I mean, the game's been out. It's hard to really say, like, without the tools in place, right? So if they build the tools, obviously the tools have to be there to reinforce reinforce the esport aspect of Guild Wars 2 to actually maybe possibly be a thing. But even though we don't have that stuff in place now that the game's been live for so long, I mean, none of us here on the show are super hardcore PvPers, like from a competitive standpoint. So, but what's your assessment? Do you think it has a shot? Because we haven't seen anything in an MMO space with the type of camera control that we see and like the viewpoint and stuff like that ever work in esports. So it's like it's got a lot. There's still some barriers, even if they put in all the tools. But now that it's been out for a while, what do you guys think? Do you think it could possibly take off?
Well, it's certainly. I mean, people are crying out for it in the MMO. The reason people got so excited about this is other MMOs have just done such a half-assed job about it so far. I mean, World of Warcraft can't get together to do just a bloody camera in arenas now. and that's been around for a little while. And modders can do it. So it's just been that MMOs really haven't grabbed this with both by the collar like they should have.
I just want to interject, but I'm speculating here, but we were talking about this on Legendary, right? And like just what you said, you saw the modder come out and have he has a camera kind of built, and you can kind of do spectator mode. So if this guy can do it with like nothing, and he's like one dude in a dorm room or something, why can't Blizzard?
Yeah.
My speculation on the whole thing is that they're not totally sure that the community will really take this, it won't be as big of a thing as a lot of people may think it will be, and they don't want the experience to suffer from that. And the worst thing they could do is put the tools in and it not really take off, and then they blame Blizzard for it. This is not working, and esports sucks because you guys just messed it up. And it won't be because they may necessarily messed it up and they put the camera in. It's just the fact that I don't know if they're so convinced that MMOs as an esport with the camera view and the way it's structured is a thing.
Sure, but the thing is that's fine, but you can't spend months before launch talking about that it is.
Yeah.
And then not produce it.
I'm agreeing on the Guild Wars 2 side for sure.
Yeah, and I know you mean that MMOs have been hesitant because they are already, but I'm just not sure anyone's really stuck it out there to find out properly yet. As much as possibly they could. I mean, I know. Blizzard does, the big championships and stuff and arenas and things like that. But if you don't know by now, and you've never really gone for it to find out, no one really has. And I understand that there's a lot of, you don't want to damage your reputation. You don't want to put it out there, and it kills it altogether. You'd rather keep waiting and seeing if you can get something that's absolutely perfect, and so on and so on. But there's a saying: you do something or get off the pot. And it seems that there's a lot of sitting on the pot, and it has been for a long time. And the problem is that MMO players have been waiting for a game to really embrace this, and to see the sort of competition you see in something like League of Legends, which is of course difficult because it's built from the ground up for that. So, but seeing somebody try to jump into that with both feet, and it seemed that ArenaNet are trying to do that, but it's just not there yet, and that's why there's so much frustration, because I think people really, really want it.
It's funny because you hear people talking about Guild Wars 2 as if it is a solely PvP game. People all the time commenting on articles or columns or whatever, they're saying, what do you mean PvE? Guild Wars 2 is a PvP game. So you have that community who really just grab it and run with it. They might not be the hugest community of players, but there are people who definitely want it and are feeling left out at the moment.
Well, the good news is I think people are we're going to get to see if it works, right? They've been saying it since before launch that they're going for it. They haven't backtracked. They're still working on things. I think in 2013 we will see a lot of these features, and it's gonna be interesting to actually watch it and see if it does start to take off, or if it or if it was a real disappointing thing that took a really long time to come from the reason. But it's going to be an interesting ride to watch this happen, because we're going to see it. I believe it.
I mean,
that's great. At least they're trying.
Yeah, I mean, and at least they're the first. The other thing I was going to say, where we were making the comparisons to World of Warcraft, is that we don't have many MMOs that come out that are trying to do PvP based on skill, purely on skill, not on gear, right? Just this week, Ghostcrawler, came out and basically just said PvP in World of Warcraft is not a skill-based game. It's a skill and gear-based game, and that's what they want to keep it. So they kind of know that. So there's not many options there. The other thing I think to think about this is there's probably, this is there are a whole lot of working components that really need to kind of talk to each other and work behind the scenes. And I think if they just kind of start piecemealing this stuff out, people are well, why don't they just get certain things out? And I think that might be a bad take on it as well. I think they really have to be ready with it and have everything in place, talking properly, and kind of almost do a pretty good push with all the tools and everything in place, and the leaderboards and everything all at once, or it wouldn't make a whole lot of sense. Because then you'd have these components that are why do I have this? This doesn't make any sense.
What would lead to sort of that idea and that philosophy is, if you look at how recently we've been talking about the divergence between skills for PvE and PvP, if they're still working on that and they were to go to a competitive scene and they're still kind of working on the balance between skills, whether they're going to be for PvE, for PvP, whether they have to change them here and there to split them off, then if they're not ready for that yet, then they have to wait, because you can't put all the stuff in and then the core game itself falls on its backside with everybody able to watch. You know what I mean? Then that would be a problem. So if they're having to get that sort of design philosophy spot on first, then that's understandable why. Absolutely understandable why, and they have to get that right.
Mm-hmm.
But it'll always be an ongoing thing. It's just the way it is with balance, isn't it? In any game, it's always an ongoing thing. But yeah, I mean, hopefully we'll get to see some progress soon. As I said, at least they're having a go. We're going to find out if this works, which is exciting.
Yeah,
so it's frustrating because it's something that could really be something really big and exciting.
I, for one, hope they did it right, and I hope it really takes off. And I hope players really take to it, and there's enough of a community to kind of foster a really good, hardcore PvP, shoutcasting, tournaments and the whole nine. Let's move on. Next up, Colin had this to say in the article as well. This is really interesting. So he said January and February actually are biggest updates to date. They're even bigger than all the stuff we did in October, November, and December. And I think that when people see how much stuff they're going to get for no monthly fee in January and February, they're probably going to be blown away. These 2 months combined are basically, get this, an expansion's worth of content for free. An expansion's worth of content for free. Sounds like a lot of stuff. Sounds like a lot of stuff. It's kind of
new
insane.
professions.
New race.
Yeah.
We're gonna get Coda in February.
Yeah, the Colossus, the new playable race, by the way, the Colossus.
Little balance issues to be worked out before then.
Dr. Manhattan, new player race.
He just flicks people with toes. That's the one attack.
I mean, I gotta wonder if most of this content was probably even in development before launch, possibly, but we're maybe still in that window for sure. But with that being said, to ramp that much worth of content out, you got to sort of speculate that maybe the gem store is just doing okay. Maybe people are spending some money.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, that's the crazy thing is because you do see this that they have a pile of content that they've already kind of started pre-launch, and they get to these companies get to roll out content fairly rapidly right after launch, and then it's kind of slows down. But he actually mentions in here that their aim is to have new content every single month. And at some point, that well will run dry, and it's going to be all like post-launch development time, and it's going to be really interesting to see them stick to that. It really speaks to the tools they must have that to be able to develop things so rapidly, because I just can't fathom. Lost Shores was a level 80 map, a PvP map. This whole Fractals dungeon system with these 9 mini dungeons and stuff, and that was gigantic. And they're saying that the ones in January and February are bigger than that. That just blows my mind. I can't wait to see what they have in store.
Bigger than that, and everything else. Did they put out some other stuff in those other months? I mean, isn't it? It's what else came out in those months?
Yeah, so it's also on top of the Halloween content, not only in events, but I'm assuming they're saying that it's bigger than the actual event content was with the new maps and all that. I mean, they could not be including that, but still, it's fairly significant as far as just terms of content being added to the game. So if it actually lives up to that sort of hyping, it's going to be a pretty cool couple of months.
And I think this is great for PR. I mean, this was the biggest question we got on this show, I think, pre-release was, hey, I'm kind of leery on spending $50 or $60 on this game with no sub fee. What's the content cadence going to be like post-release? Am I going to actually see stuff? Are these guys going to fly the coop? And it's like, all right, a couple months into it, they're releasing, almost an expansion's worth of content. And we're going to do something. I mean, I think we all expect this monthly thing to slow down drastically. I don't expect them to be pumping out, these major updates every month. I expect something every month, but, maybe it's like an event. Like an event could be a month, right? I mean, would you be okay with that at this point, with the type of stuff that they've been doing?
Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It doesn't,
especially.
I mean, well, I guess what I'm getting at is, do they run the risk of flooding us with a ton of stuff, and then players get used to that sort of amount of content, and then when they do come back and say, "Hey, this month the content update is like this small little event," and people are just like, "Ah, that's not enough."
I would hope that players wouldn't do that.
But it's the internet.
It is the internet, so there are people who. I mean, there are people who are going to look at Genu and be like, "Well, it's not a full expansion. It's only half because the other half's coming out in February." Yeah, so like there are always going to be people being jerks about it. But they have actually talked in the past about using a couple months event to tell us kind of mini story that kind of arches through content over the course of a couple months. So they are going to use events to kind of unfold new stories as we go through in monthly content. So that's something I would definitely expect. And I would really hope that people are like, hey, that's cool because we got, half an expansion last month, we get an event this month, and a couple months down the road we get another quarter or third or half of an expansion.
Yeah.
I would like to know, I bring this up on the show and I ask you guys every once in a while. I'm curious. I probably do it like every couple of weeks, but gem store stuff. You guys still spend it? Because I'll be completely honest, I'm not really spending money in Guild Wars 2 anymore. Like I'm still playing. But I've got it. Like I'm totally content with just playing right now. Like I don't really have that like, oh my God, I've got to have this, got to have that, got to buy this, got to buy that. Maybe just because I'm like PlanetSide 2ing my face off and that's making me spend money. Because that game has that. That game's for seriously like, I'm just like, here, take my credit card. It's clean.
Camo. I want some more camo. I want camo on everything.
But for some reason, I don't know. How are you guys still spending money on the regular?
Yeah, I'm spending money.
Honestly, are you giving them more than like a month's worth of subscription fee?
Yes.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, no, you know what? And there hasn't been like a lot of like I expected like more costumes and different types of like cosmetic items than they have because none of those things besides the one I got on Halloween it really attracted me. But I'm like I want my bags will be full and in a fit of frustration I'll throw gems just to buy another bank slot or I bought bag slots, bank slots, character slots, and there was one other thing that and I'm very tempted because I'm always poor. I'm tempted just to convert,
summon to gold, yeah.
Summon to gold because the price on that, the conversion is getting better and better to do that. So.
What would you say? What would you say like on an average? Like what do you think honestly? Like don't be embarrassed here. You could say like it's $100.
No.
But how much are you spending a month? Do you think? He's like, I spent about $1,600 last month.
No,
it's one of those cash.
No, I'm not one of the. I don't know if I'm considered a whale, but between 20 and 30, 20 and 30
between
a month.
20 and 30 a month. So you're close to making up for two people's subscription. No, how about you, Liz? You spending some cash?
Mine's kind of in spikes. So like I spent a lot right at the beginning for bank tabs and bag slots and characters because I have 8 of them. And then I didn't do anything, over the course of September and into most of October, and then Halloween hit and huge spike up and then back down. And so I'm expecting November, having been very quiet, to spend another embarrassing sum on Christmas stuff because I expect that they will have things for me to buy and that I will have absolutely no willpower because I don't. It'll be so bad.
I'm also playing a little bit more casually now at this point, which I actually like. It's something I actually love about this game is that with no sub fee, it's the first game that I don't feel like I have to log in and play like I do with some other games, which is great because when I do log in, I have a great time. But yeah, Scott, I think you're kind of on the side with me. You're not probably. I sense you're not spending cash either.
No, I spent probably total about $30, I think, and that was just to buy some stuff to do tests on. When events will come up and just see what's in the cash store and buy a few things and see if I could get something really early when Elizabeth spent a fortune trying to get stuff so I could mock her and laugh. Sorry. I wish that wasn't true. Yeah, so I have spent some, but no, I don't spend regularly. I pop in. I mean, I'd be playing more right now if we had guesting. I would be playing much more than I am right now. If I was having guesting, because right now I've had to switch servers to try and play. Right, I'm hoping to bump into Elizabeth so I can actually do some OR stuff that I really want to do and lots of other things. But as it was, I was pretty much playing solo, and I don't want to do that in MMO. I'm weird like that.
I will drop like $100 on the cash shop if they put guesting in by Christmas. Like I don't even care. Like good job, ArenaNet. Take all my monies.
What if they made guesting an unlock? What if you had to pay for it?
That would be awful.
That would be awful because they said it was going to be in the game.
Yeah,
that would be cool.
If it had said it was going to be in the game, if it was something that they like threw in as bonus, like spend 1 gem and go play for your friend till you log off, like that would be okay, but since they've already said, like, this is going to be in the game, they're already kind of skating by on, we never said it was going to be in at launch. So if they then also said, well, we never said that it wasn't going to be costing stuff.
Do you think they should be adding more stuff to the gem shop? Does it feel a little sparse? Do you think that I mean, I always expected them to launch with more stuff, and it never really got flooded with a whole lot of other, items. I expected things to change like weekly.
Yeah,
I thought that.
Like, I hate to keep bringing up PlanetSide 2, but I almost, and I like their shop, it's like they've got weekly specials and gift boxes, like to buy like 3 and 4 things. And like, I kind of expected a little bit more of that stuff. And they're really kind of passive about the gem store. I feel like it's really not in your face. It's like it's there. And
I honestly thought what they'd do is they'd basically have a virtual gem store warehouse that looked like the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark, full of stuff. And then every few weeks they would shuffle some stuff in and shuffle some stuff out, and there would be a cycling to keep things fresh, and there'd be a vast array of stuff to keep people going back for more. And it's, in some ways you can say perhaps they're not being quite as money grabbing as they could be.
Which is great, which is a good thing for the player experience, because you don't, you don't want to be overly annoying. You don't want to in your face, buy, like flashing lights.
It's going away next week, and it might not be back for a while. It's your last chance to get this before next week something else comes in. This is the best thing ever. You better get this right now. I thought there'd be quite a bit of that, to be honest, because of the payment model. Obviously, they don't need to.
Yeah,
I think is what I'd say.
I think it's, we're talking about this content that they're going to be releasing on a monthly basis, right? I think they're really relying on those huge spikes of, population growth to come in for these one-time events or for these, special things. And then they, conveniently put new things on the gem store during those times. I mean, that's their business plan right now. We're going to get a large influx of people, and we're going to have new items in the gem store. And you could tell, you're in overflow servers during these events, constantly. There's people everywhere. The market, the trading post goes crazy with prices. You could tell that there's a lot more people playing the game, and they're probably making a lot more money at the same time. So this is definitely part of their strategy, and their, and maybe keeping it a little bit sparse or a little bit less exciting when these events aren't away. Or when these events aren't happening, maybe that's part of it too. I'm not, maybe they want people to get excited about the gem store when these events are taking place.
You know what else is going to be really interesting? Talking about this, this amount of content that's coming in January, February, is it's going to be really interesting to actually see how they do position and expansion. Because now, they're giving us dungeons, they're giving, who knows how much stuff they're going to give us within the course of 2 months, and people are like, I got all this for free, and then they're going to come out, finally, they're going to have a pay for expansion at some point.
Right.
And it's got to be bundled with more. It's I can't imagine how much they're going to have to pack in here, besides obviously new classes maybe or something like that, and the level cap increase and that kind of thing, but it's how many dungeons do they have to make for this? It's just going to be interesting to see how much they actually have to pack into an actual expansion to charge money.
It's going to be continents.
Yeah,
that's what it's going to be. They're going to
basically just get Nightfall
seriously
as an expansion. Yeah,
you put a continent and a race in, done. There you go. That's what they need to do, and people go crazy for it. And if the one after that they put mounts in, that'll sell.
Oh, watch them words.
Fighting words. The really kind of low-key cash shop is something that you saw in Guild Wars 1 as well. There were a couple standards that were always on sale, but then most of their business was just done on one-time costumes. So over Winter's Day, they had a set of costumes that were available for 2 weeks or whatever, and you could buy both of them for a discounted price. And that's where they got a lot of money from people like me. So I imagine that that's kind of what their model is going to be moving forward, although I resisted and did not buy a single costume over Halloween, but I don't know that I'd be able to resist again.
It's like I'm definitely not poo-pooing the fact that it's kind of a passive system, because it doesn't. But I almost it's kind of weird to say, but I almost feel like they could be a little bit more aggressive with it. I almost forget it's there. They could give me a little pop-up or something when I log in to kind of let me know of a special or something, and I wouldn't mind that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they've had a couple little sales here and there where they, but you're right. It's not in your face. It's not flashing. Yeah. So I think it's smart. It's not turning people off. That's for sure. They're not turning people off at the gem store. So
Which I gotta say, I guess when you're launching a game like this, you want to play on the conservative side and be like, you know what? Let's make sure we just absolutely don't piss people off. We can always ramp up, but if we have that $90 monocle, whoo, that's gonna piss some people off, and then we can never take that back again, and that will hit
take that back.
Every gaming website under the sun will talk about this, and we can never take it back.
And they'll keep bringing it up.
And do you remember
like a year later? Damn,
because you really were stupid.
I think they were all high. They're all just smoking hash and just, looking at space, listening to Brian Eno, and they were just like,
"This is a good idea.
We'll charge like $90 for a monocle. It'll be fantastic."
Great. You're putting that Philip Glass CD.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just. I've got to say, do you remember all of the horror stories and fear mongering before launch about the cash shop and how terrified people were? And it's going to be the end of civilization as we know it. Screw the world coming to an end in December. It's going to be something on the cash shop that is going to mean that somebody's going to have the sword of slaughtering that will kill everybody, and that'll be the end of it. It's pay to win. That's what it is. And it's this thing that kind of sits over there, and if you like it, you can, and if not, you really don't have to pay any attention to it whatsoever. I mean, I have to say, I look at my completely empty mini pets bit and go, that looks quite sad.
That is sad.
It's very sad.
For that. It's a bit rubbish, because they're really quite cool, but I've managed to resist the temptation until next week.
Until next week. All right, we're going to talk a little bit about patch notes coming up. We got patch notes. But first, I want to tell you guys really quickly about Rift's brand new expansion called Storm Legion. It's pretty much brand new. Came out last month in the Novembers. If you guys have not checked it out, go over to stormlegion.com. You guys got to read up on it. Check it out. Rift's got a brand new, talking about continents, talking about space and stuff. Not space like outer space, but, continent stuff to explore. They've increased the world like something like 3 or 4x. It's gigantic. Tripled it from the core game. They added 2 huge new continents. They're insanely epic, and there's so much stuff to do in there. It's crazy. Brand new island, the city of Tempest Bay, which is the new main city. Of course, the 10 level increase cap and the 4 new souls, all that good stuff. Dimensions, you always hear me spout off about dimensions, the player housing. Actually, I should tell you guys this. We're gonna so I came up with this idea, and I kind of blurted it out as a goof, and now it's become a thing. So
that's often the way, isn't it?
I blurted out. Well, I've been loving dimensions so much, and I was like, wow, what if we did dimensions cribs, like cribs Rift Dimensions edition? So coming in December, right here on Gamebreaker TV, is going to be Rift Cribs. Started putting that together yesterday, so it's going to be awesome. It's going to be awesome.
Hilarious.
So we're going to go into all the different dimensions, the top-rated dimensions and stuff, and take a look at them crib style. That's all I got to say, crib style. So be on the lookout for that, because
Klaus and Squirrel's cribs. That'd be terrifying.
Oh, now you're just getting crazy.
Too far, man.
Yeah, we went into a few yesterday. The top ones on I think it was Shatterbone, and they're sick. One guy made a jumping puzzle. It's amazing. Crazy. Go over to stormlegion.com. Check it out today. If you own Rift, the expansion is only like $40. If you do not own the Rift game, the core game of Rift, they've got a package deal there. You can get the core game and the expansion for $50, and eventually you get to fight her in all her glory. That is Crucia with the metal bikini.
She looks like she would stab herself if she bent over.
You can say that's got
something goes into the like suddenly she has no spleen.
I don't think she'd care. I think she could just be whatever.
I think she just remains upright.
Yep, and then she
has got a very stiff posture,
and then she kind of looks like this. Yeah, she's kind of a badass. Crucia's kind of a badass. All right, let's talk about some patch notes. So nothing crazy. Oh my god, the sky is falling. Interesting this week. I got some bug fixes for events and dungeons. So always good to see that kind of thing happening. But what about this? Invisible and invulnerable players can no longer contest capture points in dub v dubs. And Elizabeth says,
2 thumbs way up. That's something that they've been working on in structured PvP. Like, if you make yourself invulnerable, you can't capture a point. It's not very fair. So I'm glad that that's kind of creeping over into World versus World.
Well, I thought they'd already done that from the nerfs on Guardians in beta. So, because we're pretty much invulnerable standing on a point.
Yeah, so Scott's actually why they started doing that. They were like, wow, Scott's really being imba, so we're going to nerf him. And kind of as a result, the rest of the game also got nerfed.
Thanks, Scott.
Good job, Scott.
Sitting on a point, eating a sandwich. Hey.
What's up, guys?
What's up? Did you want in here? Because that's not really going to work for me.
Where'd you get a sandwich?
Sandwich
Not the gem store.
Sandwich.
Secret class.
Pour up a bubble.
I don't know.
Grab
Change
a sandwich.
seems fair to me unless you're a thief.
Stupid thieves, anyway.
It's true.
Nobody likes them.
Let's give them one more thing to be mad about.
What was this all about? There was a hidden update. What was about this hidden update? This hidden update that wasn't in the patch notes apparently was snuck in earlier than intended. What's going on here? It's starting to sneak a little stuff in that we don't know about. Shame.
So they wanted to fix because just before right now, you would see all of your team as red and all of the opposing team as blue, or vice versa, depending on which team you're on. So there's this really hideous monochromatic thing that made dyes completely useless in PvP. And so they accidentally included an update that took that away so that you could see, I think it's the opposing team is still all one color, but your team is whatever color they dye themselves. And they didn't mean to put that out because it comes with a whole bunch of other stuff. It's kind of like we were talking about earlier, like you kind of want to put everything out as one nice parcel. So right now you can't change that back, but when it goes live as it's intended to, you'll be able to say, yes, I want to see everyone monochrome. Yes, I want to just see the other team as monochrome. No, I don't want anyone to have any colors. And there will be a better UI thing for remembering which team you're on, because right now if you're kind of spacey or in between a bunch of hot join matches, you're like, wait, am I blue? Are we winning or losing? Because I don't know which team I'm on. So that's all going to come out eventually. They just kind of accidentally gave us a present.
So they're basically going to give us like an options menu to kind of control all of this ourselves to see. Okay, that's awesome, and that's actually really good for PvP as well. PvPers are gonna love that. So
that's super great.
Especially a game that's so tied to customization and looking the way you want to look and so on, having that kind of structured PvP just makes a hell of a lot of sense. It's just something that I think is an added value for. Doesn't mean that the rest of the game is so far separated in look from structured PvP if you don't want it to be. Which
people absolutely hated that. You know, you'd get all these cool skins from running the tournaments or whatever, and you're sitting around the mist and you look all awesome, and you go into the PvP match and you look like a Smurf. You know, it's like people don't want that. So it's good to have options.
All right, let's do some viewer questions and get out of here for the week. Viewer questions this week are brought to you by Audible. For a free 30-day trial for Audible and get a free audiobook, head on over to audible.com/gamebreaker. Go do it. Audible.com/gamebreaker. Free 30-day trial and a free book. All right. First up this week, Joshua J. Pate Terry says, given the current state of trying to find a pug for dungeons that aren't fractals, should ArenaNet develop some kind of cross-server group finder? And he says, and yes, I know I should do it with my guild, but I'm a bad guildie and I actually like to pug. Shame on you, sir. Shame on you for not being a friend to your guildies.
I think they should have made one before fractals. I mean, it's just a good idea to have. So yeah, all in favor of that have been pretty much since day one, because they don't have anything along the lines of a good LFG right now.
Yeah. Yeah, because people are actually making their own look for group, and I think that actually nerfed people's ability to do this recently. Where what people would do is they would try to find people to go into a fractal, right, or a dungeon. If you're not finding anyone, you try to get into an overflow, right, and you just keep zoning in and out to the mists and back and getting into different overflows to kind of look for people. And it's people are going to invent their own ways and try to find and fill their groups. And right now it's just convoluted and it's difficult, especially with the fractals being so, I need someone for fractal level 17 and that's all I'll do. It's until they put the tiers in the fractal system, it's going to continue to be a mess. I think some sort of looking for group tool is absolutely needed at this point. Yep.
Scott?
Yeah, it's needed. it's one of those features that's kind of a sort of standard feature in MMOs at the moment, when it's just odd that it's not there, to be honest. And with fractals complicating things, as Richie says about the levels and everything else, it makes it even more necessary than it was. It's just, can we get guests in there first, please? Don't put that back to get
please, for the love of all that is holy.
I know we go on about it, but bloody hell, it'd be nice to have. As in, it's important to have.
But it'd be funny, though, because you put guesting in, and then what does everybody need to do? They're going to hop from server to server. Do you guys want to do dungeon? Do you guys want to do dungeon? I mean, that's what people will do. Yeah. I mean, I guess they'll fill groups better, but it'll be a little obnoxious to actually do it.
Yeah. And speaking of fractals, be sure to watch Gamebreaker TV tomorrow for Rich Procopio's guide to the fractals of the mist in 200 words or less.
Quick and dirty.
Quick and dirty on 200 words or less. Make sure to watch it. Be posted up tomorrow. All right, next up, this one from Christopher Lawrence says, "What would it take for us to convince ArenaNet to let us kill? Is it Traherne?
Yes, it's Traherne.
Whatever you want to do, I'm on board.
Let me write the next installment. He'll be dead in the first 30 seconds. Well, he'll be dead. It'll take longer than 30 seconds because when he goes down, it's going to hurt and it's going to take some time."
Your player accidentally tramples all over his face for several moments.
He falls over, and like the Winter's Day parade goes by and stomps on him.
Every single one. All these golems.
Marching bands.
Why does everybody hate Traherne so much?
I was going to ask that because I have to play devil's advocate here a little bit. I don't love it, but I didn't give two thoughts about Traherne at all, and all of a sudden I just see it everywhere on forums, on Reddit. You guys talking about everyone hates him. I'm like, well,
he's
I hate him.
He has no person. He's just this. I don't want to be commander. Oh, I'm commander. Okay, I'll be commander. Now we need to do valiant things. Like that's all he is.
You know, have you ever seen questions like people doing interview questions and they say, "What's your biggest fault?" And people say, "I work too hard," and you want to punch him in the mouth for saying that. That's Traherne.
Okay.
His fault to start with is he doesn't realize how awesome he is. That's his fault as a character. That's his major character flaw. Oh, I didn't realize I'm this great. Sorry. Now I'll be this great and lead everybody to win. And that's it. He's like a super-powered marshmallow without any taste. He's oh god, I hate Traherne. It's just he walks along, does everything perfectly in this really soft-spoken way that really is quite makes you want to drown things.
What do you hate more, Traherne or Guardians getting nerfed?
Actually, now it's kind of a close-run thing. It is Traherne. I had to take a break from my personal story because I wanted to break things on my personal story just to have him wittering on at the end of each one. I'm sorry, but he's in a game that there's such fun story in there. He's so boring. He's just so... Sorry, I'll calm down.
The one thing that I can say for Traherne is that he's not Logan.
That's true.
No, I'm sorry. I'm gonna take umbrage with that because Logan might be a bit of a dipstick, but at least it's interesting in a way, you know.
Yeah.
People hate him.
Yeah, Logan's fun to hate on. Traherne's just kind of annoying.
People detest Logan because he did something. There's the difference.
Last up today, Kevin J. Redmond says, I've taken Scott's advice, and all toys handed out this Winter's Day will come complete with an assured mental interface and attached biometric limbic enhancer. Now that subservience is all but guaranteed, how should we prepare for the impending Golem uprising?
I'm glad to see that someone's listening at that, and it's good. And especially this time of year. This time of year when we should be thinking about how we should welcome our new overlords. It's good to see that people out there, and I'd recommend anybody to take that same step and make sure that when the golems are ready to rise, you bow down quickly, you have the right equipment, and you don't put up a fuss. That's all I'm saying.
I love when Elizabeth starts laughing and cracking up, just can't hold it. I just have to put the camera on you because I'm watching the cameras and Scott's just going and she's just like trying to hold it together, like with all her might and will.
She tries all the back, and then all of a sudden we get this really loud like breath on through the microphone.
So hard.
We do spend most of the time each week just trying to get Elizabeth to crack up.
We really do.
Whenever Gary's reading, we're just looking at her waiting for something to go off. It's quite fun.
Elizabeth Clare, follow her on the Twitter at Elizabeth Clare, and of course go to massive.com and read all her great stuff over at the massively, that is at Elizabeth Clare with an X. Don't mess it up. And Richie Procopio, follow him on the Twitter at Richie Procopio, and of course go over to his YouTube channel, Bog Otter. Be on the lookout tomorrow for, well, if you're watching something the download or the replay or whatever you kids call it, the VOD. I hate that word.
Yeah,
people actually say that. People say those words.
I hate calling it a VOD. I'm not going to say it again.
Now I need to punch someone.
Yes. Go make sure to read Richie's Guide to the Fractal of the Mist on Gamebreaker TV in 200 words or less. Editor-in-chief over at Zam.com. Scott Hawks, follow him on Twitter at Jaramore. And of course, watch right here on GuildCast each and every week for his crazy, I don't know, he's going to drown puppies next week or something. I'm not sure what that means.
No, well, maybe.
Hey, we do the show live on Wednesdays at 6 PST. Brand new show on Gamebreaker TV. Everybody's loving Klaus and Squirrel. Make sure to go watch Klaus and Squirrel if you haven't. Don't miss that. And also, we've got the Gamebreaker 2012 Video Game Awards coming up in December. And you guys got to vote. So go on over to gamebreaker.tv/giveaway. That's right. We're giving stuff away as well. All you gotta do is fill out the form and vote for your favorite games of the 2012. And you'll automatically be entered to win possibly a pair of Astro A40s. We got 3 pairs of these bad boys to give away on the live show. That's December 28th, 2012. We'll be announcing the winners that you guys vote on, as well as the winners of the A40. So check that out. And that's it. Have a great week. Some more Guild Wars 2 action. See you next Wednesday. More GuildCast. Peace.
Peace.
Peace.